This video is a continuation of the first video where I talk about, I introduce India, a bit of history and a bit of society, problem of women, a bit of politics and so on. So I just want to pick up where I left and continue on perhaps religion. I think I could add a bit on Buddhism, although Buddhism is marginal in India. It's a bit paradoxal because it's where it was born and where it was taught and propagated first. Now it's marginal with less than 0.5% of the population categorizing themselves as Buddhist. When it was chased out of India, it spread all over Asia, all over its neighbor. Nepal is a very Buddhist society. At the south, Sri Lanka, now called Sri Lanka, very Buddhist society also. And Burma on the east, and also when you see all these hundreds of monks demonstrating in the streets of Rangoon, this is a very Buddhist society with very Buddhist temples. Also in Thailand, and actually all over Asia there is Buddhist, but less in India, which is something that I needed to talk about. Once it was dying, there was a king that resuscitated it at a place called Nalanda. You will see some 3 or 4 photos that I have put on the video. They are the ruins with red brick, very red, yes, very red bricks. Very nice ruin that today we will call a university. It was a center of learning. It is part, I think, of a protected site of UNESCO. I'm not sure of this. It is in the state of Bihar. At its height, it has 10,000 monks. They produce the Buddhist Bible in 100 books. So they've studied it from every angle, and they produced it. But many other people didn't like it. The Muslim, they never liked. They never liked the Buddhists either. Anyway, this is a very it's a sacred place also, but the most sacred place for Buddhism is in a place called Mahabodhi. And there are monuments there that are more than 2,000 years old, dedicated to Buddha. You will see on the photo, they are the stupas, like arrows pointing to the sky. It's very, very nice, very impressive site. It's about 100 kilometers south of Patna, and I spent some time there in the rain. It's a beautiful site. The countryside also is beautiful. You can rent bicycle, and you can rent a tricycle or go with a taxi, taxi. To a cavern where Buddha lived many years. So there is this cavern in the mountain, high up in the mountain, very difficult of access. We have to walk hours to get there. And the other place is the famous tree where he has experienced enlightenment. The tree is still there, or one tree is still there. Apparently there's some branches or roots of the trees were stolen and brought to Sri Lanka and then replanted. Anyway, there are whole stories. There is Buddhist tourists that visit the place. When I was there was one bus of Japanese Buddhists. So there's a few tourists. The place is too difficult of access. You have to spend hours on bad roads or on trains to reach there. So the place is It's difficult of access. There were very few tourists go there. I was among the very few when I was there that stayed a little bit longer. So what this will complete on the religious aspects of India, let me complete also more on the political aspect about the English colonization that colonized that part of the world for 150 years, not only India, but what is actually now, what would include Pakistan and Bangladesh. So a very large place. And this was done by mainly three means. Trade was very important, started with trade, like other colonizer with trade. So in India there was this, the Company of India, East India, that were a bit like the Hudson Bay Company in Canada. At least they were more or less managing big land. It was that company established counters all along the coasts, the Bengal, the coast of West Bengal, and also inside the Ganges. So they were able to trade. Was very popular on the East Coast. The Portuguese had been there for a long time before the English, so they had sort of captured most of the trade. But the English, they came with technology. They came with the big trains, the big railways that they transported from England, the big engines, big locomotives. And after a while, everybody, every city, every kingdom, every rulers, every leaders in India wanted their train, so they liked very much the English for that. And they eventually, after a long period, they all got their trains. The railway networks in India cover the whole country. You can go from any place to almost any other place. There's a lot of traffic on the railways. It's the largest in the world by far. So quite impressive colonization with the trains. And then at the same time there were the telegraph also that played a big role. It connected Mumbai with London, and London was already connected with New York, so that also brought India into the world. And the telegraph followed the trains, as in America, so that the whole of India became sort of connected to the world through the English colonization. So the Indians, they wanted very much these technologies. Not all were happy, of course, because the English were quite arrogant. They are said to have mistreated princes and Indian leaders in bad ways. So in bad way. So there were also revolt. One revolt against the English was very famous in the north. I think it was in 1857, where hundreds of Hindus were massacred. So a lot of resentment. But at the same time, they were able to rule quite peacefully on the whole, so that there was a kind of a happy marriage between England and India. That is all what I would say on the colonizations, on politics. They have actually, they don't lack food globally. They have a surplus of food. Some, of course, many lack food, but there is a surplus of food. And this comes from policies to favor agriculture, such kind of green revolutions that they unleash almost 40 years ago, to boost production, agricultural productions, food productions, and they did it by guaranteeing a level of price and easy loans, easy credit, which is leading now to many farmers committing suicide. It was all over the place when I was there. But beside religious corruption, there is political corruption, government corruption, bureaucratic corruption, police corruption. It is said that corruption plagued the Indian society. When I was there was big demonstrations in the streets against corruption. There were public campaigns, public discussions on corruptions, from petty to big corruption. So India is not alone with this problem, of course, but it has it. India has, like China, has a problem of energy. They have no petrol or gas. They have in India a big problem with electricity that is cut so many hours a day in many places. About the political system, it's organized in states. There is, I think, about 25 states and territories. Some small kingdoms that remained were given concessions. Also, the French, they were given some concessions, so they became sort of territories like Pondicherry. So diversity of states which have their own laws. So we can imagine the Muslim states regulation toward alcohol, for instance, are very strong and very loose in other states. So it varies. Regulation varies. In one state, I had to give my fingerprint at the hotel. What was in the state of Gujarat. That's the same state where Gandhi marched toward the sea, the big march to pinch some salt at the sea. Yeah, so a state that I found very hostile to tourists just because of giving these fingerprints, which I found quite repulsive, frankly. Other problems, other states, foreigners have to be registered at the police. You have to do it, or the hotel have to do it. So in some state, there was a problem to rent a room in a hotel. Well, we finally find something. Always find something. Also, internet access for people that want to tour India. Internet access. For me, it has been a learning process, how things works. There's changes from state to state. Some states you need a sponsor, so I cheated a little bit on this. You need a sponsor, and I had a problem also. Various problems, changing states. There are sometimes different internet providers and so on. So it's. It has been a learning process. If I had to redo the trip again, it would be so much easier now that I know how things work. India, not a place to be sick, frankly, but there is some good medical facilities. There is even some medical tourism. Some hospitals are reputed to be at international standards, the same standard as in the West, with the cost half or less than half for standard medical procedures. So yes, it's good to know. They also advertise themselves outside. There's other hotels in Bangkok, for instance, but now Bangkok have some problems. Perhaps as an introduction, in this video, talk more about the religions, and the other video I go more into commenting some other aspects of India. India, of course, a very, very religious country, known for Hinduism and Buddhism. So Hinduism, about 800 million people. That's very important. It's not an aggressive religion like Islam or Hinduism. They don't go around the world, around their neighbor with cavalries and armies of terrorizing and killing population. No, Hinduism is much superior to Islam and much more peaceful, and also much more peaceful than Christianism, which perhaps looking at history, a longer perspective of history, has been the more bloodiest religion in the world. If we include the tens of millions good Christians that fought the two World War, where over 40 to 50 million people died in good Christian country. If we include the big bloc, Christianism have been the worst. With colonialism, Christianism have ended, almost destroying the Americas and in Africa with the trade slave. This is another longer story. So Hinduism, perhaps much less aggressive than other religions. Sikhism also, they don't pretend to export their religion elsewhere. All these are present, like Islam. It is obvious. You are born in these religions. You are born Sikh, for instance. You are fed with the stuff of that religion, of Sikh. You live in that religion. You wear your turban, and you die. You die, yes, in that religions with your illusions. Anyway, there's no conversions except in inter-religious marriage. All these organized religions are prisons. There is no escape. Absolutely no escape. Religious freedom is crap. That doesn't exist. All organized religions are prisons, and prison is I think, the appropriate word, perhaps at different degrees to different religions. There is no religious belief in my understanding of the world. There's only conditioning, religious conditioning. So there's no religious belief, but total addictions, and this is true at 99.999%. I have verified it myself with statistics provided by the State Department, the group on religious freedom. On the photos, perhaps you will recognize a big play square water with gas at the step that goes down. This is taken in Pushkar. Very impressive place to visit. You can rent motorbike and go around in the countryside also. You see in that part of the world many camels, not only for tourists but also for transport. So a very nice place. In further north, it's difficult to go. I have been in Punjab once. I was very impressed by the level of technology and capitalized agriculture, quite modern agriculture in wheat harvesting, for instance. They look very modern. But because of security reasons, for tourists, it's absolutely not recommended.